So hello everyone, my name is Becky with Scott Leroy Marketing. Today we're going to be doing our database overview class. So we're going to be walking through the ins and outs, particularly of the contacts applet in Command. So we're going to be going through importing contacts and adding contacts individually, exporting contacts, and things like that. A couple things before we get started. First of all, if you are here with me live, if you have any questions as we go through, please go ahead and drop them in the chat as you have those questions. I will do my best to get those answered in real time. Generally, for the sake of timing, I do have to save those for the end. But I always save a couple minutes at the end of class to make sure we can get through all of those questions, especially if there are some more in-depth questions there. So again, just go ahead and drop those questions in the chat as we go through. I may have to save them for the end, but I will definitely get those answered for you. If you're watching this back on recording and you have any questions, you can always reach out to us via email. Our email address is support@scottleroymarketing.com. I'm going to drop that email address in the chat for everyone here as well. Y'all are also more than welcome to reach out to us at that email. Today's class recording will be available on our YouTube channel, which I just dropped in the chat, in about 24 hours. When you are on our YouTube channel, we do always recommend looking for the most recent videos. The easiest way to do that is going to be using this videos tab right here. It's going to list those videos in reverse chronological order. So you'll have the most recent video up at the top, and they will get older the further down you scroll. So that's going to be the easiest way. You can search right here. So for example, we'll search for today's class. Wait a second here. Now on this, you're seeing the most recent videos are up at the top here. It does not always pull in that order when you use the search feature. So just pay attention to those dates. Make sure you're finding the most recent one. Sometimes you may have to scroll down a bit before you find those most recent ones. So things are always changing with Command and the services that we offer here at Scott Leroy Marketing, which is why we just always recommend looking for those most recent videos, so you can make sure everything is up to date. We're going to go ahead and jump in now that we've covered that. So the first thing we want to do is we want to sign into Command, which is agent.kw.com. You'll sign in with those KW login credentials you set up with your onboarding, or if you've changed your password or username since then, whatever your Command logins are, we'll go ahead and log in there. Once we are logged in, we're going to actually go straight over to the contacts applet. So contacts applet is going to be on the left-hand side. You'll see the square with a person inside of it. You can always hover over these applets and it will give you a pop-up that tells you the name of the applet. You can also click this red square with the white KW in it, and it expands that whole menu so you see it in list view there. So then you can just minimize it by clicking that button again. We're going to go ahead and go over to our contacts applet here. And once we are in here, I'll give you a brief overview of the top. We're really going to start with importing contacts, and then we'll kind of jump into it once we've added some more contacts into here. But yeah, so the first thing you'll just notice here, we'll do a quick overview. You're going to see your import contacts button over here, as well as your create contact button. These three dots have options for checking for duplicates, exporting contacts, and then down below, you're also going to see your contacts through here. We'll jump into the filters and smart views in a little bit. We'll go ahead and look at imports here. So to get started, you're just going to click this import contacts button here. And there are two different options for importing those contacts. Either you can download this template right here. That's the command template, or you can upload a custom file. The command template is going to be a bit more work up front, but it tends to be more accurate and less frustrating when you do go to actually import the contacts, whereas a custom file is not quite as much work up front, but once you actually get into the importing, you'll have to do some column mapping, and I'll show you how that works here in a little bit. But yeah, so we're going to start with this template right here. You would just click download template. And then once you have it downloaded, you can add your contacts to it. I have it pulled up in Google Sheets right here. Google Sheets tends to work better for me personally, but Excel or whatever your spreadsheet manager is should work just fine. So whatever you're most comfortable with using, if you're comfortable with using Google Sheets, then you can use that, or Excel or anything like that. Should work just fine. This one's just a bit easier for me on my computer personally here. So once we are here with our import sheet, it's very important to note that these two rows up at the very top, they are going to have your column headers. It's also very important that you do not change these column headers whatsoever. Leave them exactly as is. Don't change any of the formatting or the column headers up here. If you do, it's going to make you import it as if it's just a custom file instead of the template, so it won't import properly that way. So you'll just want to leave those two alone, and then you can go through and fill this out. For creating contacts and importing, the only required field is a first name. So you just need something in that first blank in order to import those contacts. If, for example, you only have the last name of the contact, for that, we generally recommend adding a filler word in the first name. We tend to choose the word neighbor, but you can do whatever you want with that. You don't have to put neighbor. You can put any other filler word, or you can just move the last name over to the first name field, and then you can add that later. Whatever works for you and, is less confusing there. So we'll go ahead and I'm going to start walking you through filling this out. If you have your contact file in another spreadsheet, you can obviously copy and paste these columns in here with first name, last name, so that you fill this out properly and don't have to go through every single contact individually, but so you can reformat it. I will also say, this is something that we are happy to help out with at SLM. You can feel free to reach out to us via email and send us those contact files, and we can help reformat those and help import them for you to save you the hassle. I'm just going to walk you through how to do it so that you know how, if you want to do it yourself. So we'll go ahead and we're just going to start filling this out. We'll go first and last name here. So you can go fill out any of these columns you want. When it gets to birthday, home anniversary, it does not matter the date format you use. You can put dashes in there, or you can put slashes or dots. It'll recognize it as a date there. So we can say that is a birthday. And we can also do a different number format here. It's going to recognize that as a date through there. And it just reformatted that to make sure it matches what we have over here. That's just the Google Sheets formatting working. But you can enter any of those number formats and it will be recognized by command as a number format there. Same thing with your phone numbers through here. If you just enter the number in with dashes or straight without using any dashes, it will still import properly through here. I will note that this will not accept fake numbers. It will fail to import that contact. So I'm going to skip that one for right this second. Something important to note through here is when you have the cell phone numbers, same thing when you get to emails later on. You're going to see a column to the right of it that is going to ask, is it the primary phone number, email address later on? Is it the primary? You're just going to mark that with a Y, capital Y, to say, yes, it is the primary. Only one number can be marked as primary. You will need to mark one of them as primary, but only one of them can be marked as primary. So it may be easiest to just mark all of one column primary. If you have only cell phone numbers, you can play around with that, whatever works for you there. But again, you'll want to mark it as primary so that it can go ahead and add that to the contact, especially if you have multiple phone numbers for a contact. So if you have their cell phone and their work phone, cell phone, home phone number, any of those options through there, you'll be able to mark it as primary, and that will just put it as the default phone number for them. Moving over, we have the same thing with emails right here. So we can just tab over using our arrow key, and just wanted to show all of the email fields here. So we have our personal email, work email, other email. and you can mark those as primary. Again, capital Y right through there, and only one of them can be marked as primary. So we can enter that in there. We'll put a Y here so you know that's primary email. And then we can add additional emails or we can skip those. Same with our primary address. You'll mark if it's the mailing address over to the right. There we go. So once you fill out that full address, it's going to ask if it's the mailing address or not, and you can mark that again, capital Y through there. We'll go ahead and I'm going to show this to you. One thing, when you are entering zip codes and they begin with a 0, you would want to adjust your numbers. So this one is already working because we've already updated it on this file. But generally, we can make it, I'll make it a little longer so that you can see. Actually, no, we'll do, there we go. And you'll see those zeros dropped off the beginning of it because we have it as a 5-digit number here. For Google Sheets, it's super simple. You just select the whole column and then you just grab this number 1, 2, 3 up here, and you'll go down and select your number type right here. So especially if it begins with a 0, you can do that through here. You can create a custom number format, which we already have done. So you can say add however many zeros through here and apply it, and you'll see those numbers get added back in, or you can just drop it back down to what it was through there. So that way those numbers don't import as just partial zip codes. So you'd want to add the 0 to the beginning there. And then you're just going to keep going through, fill it out with all of the information you have through here. There's a lot there. All right. And then we get over here to our tags, sources, notes, and social media right here. Especially with the tags, sources, and notes. You'll see this note up above that says separate with a comma. You will want to upload this as a CSV file, which just means comma separated values. The reason I point that out is because it just means that we're separating those values with a comma. So every tag we want entered, we're just going to start typing go. So we add a comma and that will create a new tag for us. So then we always recommend with your imports that you add a tag with the import date in it. So generally we would say import with the date. That way, because you can add as many tags as you want to contacts, but when you do an import, in case something were to go wrong or you somehow, for some reason, needed to find all of the contacts from this import specifically, you can just search your tags and find that through there. But we can just keep adding as many tags as we want through here. Just separate them by a comma. You can't separate them with any other, if you use like a slash or a dash, it's just going to include that as one big tag. So you'll want to make sure those are separated by a comma. Same thing with your source and your notes through there. So we can just copy and paste these down here. We'll just add another name here so we can import more than one. So we'll go ahead and we'll say neighbor. And then once we've filled this out, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to download this with Google Sheets. We're just going to save it as a CSV file. So we're just going to click File, and we'll click Download and the CSV. And we'll see that download right here. If you already have it as a CSV file, you should just need to save it, and then it will go ahead and upload it, or then you can upload it over here. So one other thing, we'll quickly look at a custom file. When you are creating those contacts, you are going to want to make sure that first header or the first row is going to be your header that has all of your column headings. So your first name, last name, you can put your tags, you can put phone number, email. You can add as many columns as you want in whatever order you want them to be in. And then you'll just go in and fill out that. So we'll go ahead and we'll say, we'll give those same tags that we had a minute ago. 304. and then we'll just do our date through here. So you can go through and you can add more. We'll just copy and paste this down below as well. And then we're going to go ahead and I'm going to actually enter a fake number here so you can see what it looks like when one fails. It's very good at sensing whether it's a fake number or not, so just keep that in mind. And we're going to go ahead and download this same way we would before. We'll see that download here. And then we'll go over to our contacts applet and we'll look at importing both of those through here. So you're going to go ahead and you would just drag and drop here or click browse. Since I have it in my downloads, I'm just going to select downloads. And we're going to start with that template we used, and I'll just drag and drop it over here. It'll tell us that the import was complete. So we'll go ahead and we're just going to continue with that. So when you use the template, this is what's going to pop up. It's going to automatically do your column mapping for you. And so everything that you have under those headers, you're going to see automatically update right in here. So we have those tags in the correct field, primary email address, the name, the primary address, birthday, home anniversary. You can go through each of the contacts individually, however many you're importing, to review them all through here. And we're just going to click finalize import, and then we can just return to our contacts. Depending on how many contacts we have, it can take some time to import them. Since there's only two, we can just hit refresh and it should go ahead and update that. We'll see a notification bell up here in the top right here, and then you'll see if it failed or if it imported successfully through here. And we can look at that log in a minute. We'll go look at that. We're going to import the other file real quick, import contacts, and this one is going to be our custom file. We'll just drag and drop that as well. And then we're just going to click continue. And this is what I mean by column mapping. So if you have multiple different columns, it's going to get a little bit more complicated. So we can see our first name, our last name, tags, all of our column headings that we've created. You're going to see right here, these are the ones from the CSV, and these are the command fields that we're going to have to go through and match through here. So you can go first name, last name, you can type to find them. You can skip different ones, tags. We'll go ahead and we'll find our tags. There we go. Phone number, we can either keep this phone number or skip it. Since that one already failed, we'll just skip the phone number so it doesn't import our phone number that we have in that file. So it'll actually import the contact properly. So we'll go ahead and click continue in here. And you're going to see that information popping in here as well. You'll want to go through and review each of the contacts you have through here. Now, when we just had the 3 different columns, it's not as complicated. However, if you have a ton of different columns with your notes, your tags, your phone numbers, your address and everything like that, it can get a little complicated when it gets to the column mapping. Because then you have to go through and figure out which one goes with which is why we do recommend using that import template, especially if you also have a lot of contacts. That way you can know that they're aligned properly, and as long as you have it in the correct fields there, it should all import properly through there. We'll just go ahead and click finalize import. We'll just return to our contacts. Again, since it's a small one, we can just refresh and it should update us immediately right here. So we'll just click that notification bell and we'll see that one was successful. So then our contacts would appear right in here. So we can go look at why that contact import failed. You're just going to click your notifications. You'll just click download log, and then you can open it up through here. Hold on just a second. I just realized my screen sharing isn't the right setting. So give me just a second. Let me switch it over so you can see this fail log as well. There we go. All right. So this is the fail log that I downloaded, and you can see which contacts failed to import. It only shows us the one that failed. We can scroll all the way to the very far right of the contact, and it will tell us why it failed. In this case, it already has the email address that we were looking at. or that we entered in, one of our contacts already has that email address, so it's not going to duplicate that contact. So we could just delete that email address and import them. We can move it. I think we can move it over to our other email and don't mark it as primary. I believe that will also work, but it won't let you import the same primary email as is on another contact through there. So we'll go back over here. So it'll give you a fail log to explain why the import failed. And then we can use our filters. We can find those contacts we just imported. So we can say, search, there we go. So we'll go ahead and apply that. And then we'll see, well, I'm not sure why I didn't apply it properly. So we can see a couple of them through here. I'm not sure why that filter didn't work properly, but we'll try again in another minute or so. But you'll see those tags appear through here. So we'll go ahead and we'll kind of cover, we're going to go ahead and look at creating individual contacts, and then we'll kind of review the rest of this in a minute as well. So we'll give it some time to hopefully work properly when we come back to it. So to individually create a contact, you're just going to click this create contact button here. It's going to give you all of these fields that you can fill out. Again, the only required field is a first name. In that full name field, you can enter either the first name or the last name. And then you can add relationships. Adding a relationship is going to link this person to another contact, so we can start searching for them. We can say, let's go. We'll link that to that contact through there. Primary email, we can fill that out right here. Primary phone number. Again, we can skip those if we don't want those through here. And then our lead sources right here. So the lead source is basically going to be where you received this contact as a lead. So if you received them as a lead through your website, you can mark that lead source here. We can say website, and we can mark it there. We can also select from our contacts. So if we heard of them from a different contact, we can add that in here as well. Just so we can keep track of where we're getting our leads, so we kind of know where we get most of our business. Are they referrals from other contacts, or are we getting a lot of our leads from our website or another platform there, or maybe even agents, since there is an option to add an agent as your resource or your lead source there as well. We can also mark this contact as a lead if you'd like. So marking them as a lead, you're going to see this L on this contact that's a little grayed out since we have this popping out first, but you'll see that L pop up on the contact. It just indicates that they're a lead. Usually just means that we need to do some nurturing on them before they become a contact. Everyone's can be a little bit different on how they view contacts as leads versus contacts. Generally, I would say a lead is going to be where you have their information, but you haven't developed a relationship with them. But a contact is going to be someone that maybe was already existing in your database, your friends, your family, things like that, or people you have developed those relationships with. But whatever works for you. Again, everyone's a little bit different with how they would classify those two. But you can definitely mark them as a lead or not as a lead, however you'd like there. Tags, again, we can select as many as we'd like through here. You can start typing, let's say, this one's not going to have a tag. So once we type one that isn't a tag, you can click create as new. It'll give us the option to create a new tag. We can choose the color for the tag as well. And we can just create that tag and it will add it to that. And then we can add it to any other contacts as they come in. Additional contact information, we can add more email addresses and phone numbers. We can add their primary address. I will note when you add actually, we'll talk about that when we look at the contact profile. I don't want to confuse you on that one. So we'll talk about neighborhoods again in a minute, actually. But you'll have your option for the primary address. You can add it as the mailing address, and you can add more mailing addresses or more addresses here. Their social profile links. So if you maybe you're friends with them on Facebook and you want to link their contact profile, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Google Plus, they have a lot through here. So pretty much any of those platforms or website, you can add those in through there. And then under the about, you have the option for their legal name, description, birthday, home anniversary. Again, we can add more relationships down here, and it will link all of the contacts that we have here. Company name, you can add that in here. And then we have custom fields. So custom fields are a lot of fun. You can create a field for pretty much anything you can imagine. So we've already created these and set them as our default custom fields. So their favorite movie, their favorite pie, their favorite superhero. We can click add a custom field. And so we can start typing and we can see what other custom fields we have. So we can add their favorite candy, favorite drink. Again, these are ones that we've created, favorite restaurant. So you can use any that you've already created, or you can create new ones. So we can, maybe we want to include their hobbies if we figured that out. So we can just say create as new. You can choose that field type, whether it's a text field, text area, drop down date, checkbox number, URL, or percentage. And then you'll just create a custom field and it will add it to that list right here. Things like this are great, especially with like your favorite pie. A lot of agents do like a pie giveaway come November. So if you know their favorite pie, you can add it in here. Maybe you like to do some really custom closing gifts and you just want to include that information as you find out. So you can do, like a basket with their favorite things. Or whatever you want to do. This is totally however works for you and your business here. So we can add hobbies through here. Really anything you can think of, you can create as a custom field. And then we'll just click create right here, and that will create our contacts for us. Once we are in here, we're going to look at what you would see on a contact profile. So on the left-hand side, you're really going to see that information that we've already added in. So their name, whether they're a lead or a not. So we can click on that and it will mark them as a lead, or we can mark them as not a lead through here as well. Our tags, the lead source, the account, neighborhoods. So neighborhoods are going to, the primary neighborhood is going to be assigned by default to whatever the closest neighborhood is to their primary address. So when you add an address to a contact, it will automatically assign a primary neighborhood, but you can go in and add more neighborhoods through here. You would just click this add neighborhood button, and then you can search. So we can say Orlando, and you can go find those neighborhoods. I'll scroll down so you can see it a little better. So we can grab one of those. We can search, let's see here, through here, and you can really just go in and select those neighborhoods that they're interested in or neighborhoods around them. You can also click the Find on Map button, and we can go Control and Zoom, or you can click these Zoom in buttons. So you can zoom in and find some neighborhoods through here. So you can just select them, and it will add those to the contact through here. So we can just select those. We can drag the map around, and then we'll just click Save. And you're going to see all of those contacts be applied, or all of those neighborhoods be applied to your contact. Again, none of them are marked as primary because we don't have a primary address on this profile. The neighborhood, again, is just going to automatically assign the primary one just based off of what their primary address is. But you can add all of these other neighborhoods, which is great if they want a neighborhood nurture email that can send, email updates on what's going on in their neighborhood. If you want to see the information for that neighborhood, you can toggle through here, find whatever neighborhood you're looking for, and then you can either click this copy link button on the left-hand side, or you can click preview. I'm going to open that in a new tab through here. When you do that, you're going to see it automatically pop up with the market snapshot for that neighborhood, market summary, some information about that neighborhood. And this is really going to be the same information that's going to pop up on their neighborhood nurture. If you want to just share the neighborhood from your, just personally, you want to share it and you want it to be branded to you, you'll notice when we're previewing it, it does not show as branded to us. There is a simple fix for that. You're just going to select in that search bar with your cursor, and then you can just type your subdomain. So we can add that in there. So add your subdomain and just click enter. And you'll see it automatically update with your fonts that you've chosen, your color schemes. So then you can just share this link directly and it will be branded with your information there. So if you want it branded when you send out this link, if you just want to share the link, you can do that that way. Just a good workaround there. And we'll go back over to our contact. Down below our neighborhoods, you're going to see the additional contact information. Again, whatever information we've added in, their social profiles. And you'll see their about section here, as well as those custom fields. So one thing you'll see here, we mentioned when we added those relationships that it will link those contacts together. We can just click on that contact and it's going to take us directly to their contact profile. And it'll automatically link the one we just created. So it'll be linked on both contacts and we can just toggle between the two. So yeah, if we want to edit the contact, we can just click that pencil right there. It'll give us the same form we looked at when we were creating the contact. You can click these three dots right here to add them to a smart plan, change the account it's worked in if you're on a team, or if you need to archive the contact, which we'll talk about in a second here. On the right-hand side, you're going to see a couple different options. So first of all, you're going to see a timeline. So any interactions you have with that contact, you can see we added those neighborhoods. And so those are all populated on here. Once you have 5 or more different, activities on the timeline, whether it's emails, phone calls, text messages, anything like that, it's going to give you this AI summary here. And so you can see, since we've just subscribe to them to neighborhood updates. You'll see those populate right here, and it will tell us that they occurred on March 4th within a very short time frame. So you can kind of keep an eye on that summary, and it will update as you add more activities. You can add activities manually, so you can go in, click this Add Activity button. You can add the interaction type. Maybe we had a meeting with them, we had a call with them, email, text, note, or just maybe we wrote them a letter or sent them a card. We can say mail. We can enter the date. We can enter a description here. So maybe, for example, we sent them get well soon card if they're not feeling well or something along those lines. And we can just add that activity and you'll see it populate on that timeline right here. So you can kind of just keep track of those activities here. I will note that when you add an activity, that is just tracking the activity. It's not actually going to send an email or send them an automated text through here. If you want to send them an email through command, I don't think we have an email in this contact. Let me switch over here. Let's see if we have one on this contact. Okay, we don't. If you just wanted to send them an email, you should be able to click on the email. Let's go find one that has one. Let's go here. So you can see the primary email. You can click on the email address and it's going to ask if you want to send it to their command email or if you just want to use whatever your desktop email is. This one is an undeliverable email because it's a fake email, obviously. So it's going to give us an error there and we can't send it directly, but that's what you would be able to do. You can select those. If you have Twilio connected, you'll see the same thing with the phone number. You'll be able to click on that and send them a text message through Twilio. So you do have that option there. Next, we have this opportunities tab right here, and you'll be able to see any opportunities that are linked to this contact. So you can see any in their phase, their commission, the stage, whether it's listing, buyer. So you'll have the option there and you can actually go to those individual opportunities. You can also create an opportunity directly here, just with this button right here. And then you can go through and just create that opportunity. I'm not going to walk through creating an opportunity for the sake of timing. We do have a class that goes through creating opportunities and syncing them and the whole process there. So you can feel free to check that out. Next, we have our smart plans. And again, you're going to see any smart plans that they are linked to. You can add them to a smart plan directly here. So we can choose any of those. So we can select it. This one, for example, we're missing phone number and email address, and we can add them to a plan anyway or cancel it. We can start them now on a specific date. Just make sure you read the TCPA disclaimer and agree to that. And then you'll just confirm through here and you'll see it populate here. So anytime you have a contact on a smart plan, you'll be able to see it in the contact card right here. And you can remove them from that smart plan with just this minus button right here. Remove them, yes, remove, and it will remove them from the smart plan here. Next, we have our tasks, and we can create those tasks directly through here. We have the tasks applet, which is a built-in to-do list. So you can create those tasks individually here. They will also be created through things like your opportunities and smart plans. If you have them set to create tasks, it will link all of those together in your tasks on your contacts applet, and also in your tasks applet on the left-hand side, you can see all of those tasks there. But they'll be grouped by your contact directly through here, and you can see the whole task, mark it as complete, or you could have archived it, I believe. Next, we have notes right here. So you can go in and add any notes. So you can just grab, your note title, add a description, and that'll populate right here. And we also can create a saved search for our contacts. So again, they would need that primary email to be valid. Well, we can click create saved search. They can fill out what they are looking for, location, criteria, so their price, amenities, things like that. Then we would click next, and it would have us create a title for the saved search and enter the email address for the contact. Once you create the saved search, it's going to send an email to the email you select, and it's going to ask the contact to confirm that they want to receive this saved search. And then once they agree to that, you should be able to see their saved search here, as well as if they're connected through your consumer app and they've created their own saved search on the consumer app, you would see that pop up here as well. So you have all of their information in one place. So we're going to go back out to our contacts here. And we'll kind of look at how we can organize and sort our contacts. So we have this search bar up at the top. We can search by the name, the email address, the phone number, the primary mailing address. We can search by all of that. So if we only remember bits and pieces of their information, that's totally fine. We can search by that. We can narrow it down to just first name, last name, email, or address as well. Next, we have our filters right here. We kind of looked at those earlier. I'm not sure why it wasn't populating. I'm just going to go ahead and we'll reset those, apply them. So it should be showing our filters how we have them. There we go. So we'll go here. Hopefully that reset it for us. But we have a bunch of filter options. This is one of my favorite features of Command, that they have so many filter options when it comes to contacts. And you can filter by whether they're a contact or maybe they're only a lead or both. You have your tags, so you can go through and filter by all of the tags you have through here. Lead source, you can filter by those. Again, we can type to find it, and you can find that, and then we can see any with an agent site connection. This just means that they have signed up on our KW agent site or our consumer app, and they've created that consumer account through there. So you can do that and see what the connection is there. If they have any neighborhoods assigned, so you can choose any neighborhoods, contacts that don't have any, or you can search by specific neighborhood as well. So I know we had a couple. I think we have one under that. We can go through Let me actually remove that lead source one. We have options for recently active, when the contact was created, when it was modified, last contacted. We can sort by smart plans they are on, or if they're on any. Birthday, home anniversary, company, primary address, phone number, email alert. That just means whether it's undeliverable or unsubscribed. And we can click apply through here and we should see that update. There we go. Now it's working. So you can see all of the contacts with those filters. We also have advanced filtering right up here. So you can click that and go in and add more filters. So for example, we have, maybe we want to exclude certain tags. Let's see, what was that one we have here? So we'll look at that testing 1, 2, 3 here. So we'll add a filter and we can say, again, we have all of those categories here. We'll go with tags and we can say whether it excludes any that include that certain tag so they won't show up here. So we can then look for our tags. There we go. And we'll just apply it right here. And you'll see that it removed that top contact we had, adding that advanced filtering. We can adjust those filters again. We can remove that. We can switch to basic filters, which would remove those advanced filters. And you would see it update as you go through there. So advanced filtering, there's a lot of options there. Tags are a really great way to sort your contacts. Filters are a great way to sort your contacts. And once you've sorted those contacts, you have the option to create a smart view. Smart view means that you would be able to find that exact group, however you have it filtered, as you come back to your command. So when you come back to your contacts applet, it's going to reset any filters, or if you move your columns around, they're going to reset to how they were originally, unless you save them as a smart view. So we can save the changes to this existing smart view we've created, or we can go in and create a new smart view. So we can say, and we can save this as a smart view, and then we'll be able to come back here, and then it doesn't want to load our contacts. Not sure why. It's being a little glitchy today. So we'll just leave it on our class demo here, but it does generally work really well. Not sure why it wants to give me problems here, but you would be able to switch between those smart views. You can adjust your columns here. Recently active, you can add more contacts or more columns, and we can drag them up further. So maybe we want to make it up at the top, and you'll see those fields populating up closer to the top. So you can play around with the ordering here, make whatever works for you, and then just save the changes to your smart plan or to your smart view, and it should allow you to come back and see it at that exact smart view. One other thing you'll want to take a look at, actually, a couple other things. You can select multiple contacts at a time. We do recommend that you switch your view down here to show up to 500 contacts if maybe you're filtering by a lot of contacts, so a lot of them would show up here. It will generally default to, I believe, 25 contacts, maybe even 10. But you can switch whatever, and that can be saved in your smart view. So you can switch to showing 50 contacts at a time, 100, 500, and then you can select all of the visible contacts at once. So you can go in and we can select those. So we can have some options appearing in a hidden action menu down below. We can go ahead and bulk add tags to all of these contacts. We can add all of them to a smart plan at the same time. We can add notes, send an email, archive all of the contacts at once. We also have more options here where we can add activities, change the account, export. Export as mailing labels. So the top one should be as a CSV file, and this one should be as PDF. Mark them all as leads. Remove tags, send text message, unmark them as leads. You have options through there. One more thing I wanted to highlight here before we look at some other back-end settings is exporting contacts. So when you are exporting contacts, if you want to export all of them, you'll just click these 3 dots up here, and you're just going to click export all owned contacts. You're going to see this notification pop up that a link was sent to your KW Communications email. So whatever you have as your KW Communications email, I'll show you where to check that in a second. You'll get a link sent to that email. You'll just click the link in that email. It'll be from KW. So you'll click the link in that email and it will download the file for you. Once you send the link, you'll have 24 hours to download the file. If for some reason you don't have the opportunity to download it within those 24 hours, you can just resend the email by clicking this export contacts again, and it would just resend the email for you and you can download it then. So we'll look at a couple of our back end settings. The first one we'll look at is that KW Communications email. So to find that, you're going to go to your drop-down menu under your name here. And you're going to go down to My Profile. On the left-hand side, you're going to click My KW. And you're going to see under this personal information right here, your KW Communications email. So whatever email you have here, you'll want to make sure you have access to. And that's going to be where all of those KW communications go to, including that export file link. So you'll want to check on that, make sure you have access to that email before you do your export, because that's where it will go. Alrighty, so we're going to look at some of our other back end settings here. So those we're going to go to this drop down menu under our name, and we're going to click our settings right here. Under command settings, we're going to go to contacts, and here we have our contact archive. So deleting contacts in command is always going to be a two-step process. You want to archive those contacts first, and then you're going to have to delete them from your archive. And so we can go over, we're just going to grab a contact and archive it so I can show you here. So we'll grab this one right here. You can either click the three dots and archive them, or we can do it inside the contact where I showed you earlier. We'll archive it, and then we can go back over to our archive. So settings, command settings, contacts, contact archive, and then you'll see that contact appear here, where we can either restore that contact back to our command contacts, or we can delete that archived contact right here. So if you have multiple contacts in your archive, you can select all of them, restore all of them together, or delete all of them together. So you have those options through there. You'll notice once you either delete or restore, it's going to gray those out. You would just click this refresh button and it should then disappear to wherever you sent it. So you'll see those appear here. I do want to note that when you archive contacts, once you delete them from the archive, you cannot restore them. So you can let your contacts live in your archive if you're not 100% sure you want to delete it. We do always recommend that, especially if you are doing some bulk actions and deleting a bunch of contacts at once, we would recommend that you export your contacts first, just so you can make sure you have a copy of all of that information should you ever need to find that information again before you go through and delete all of your contacts. You'll see the database wipe right here. Again, it's going to be a two-step process. You can archive all of your contacts directly right here, and then you can delete all of your archived contacts right here. Again, just be careful with this. Make sure you are absolutely sure, and preferably make sure you have a copy as a CSV file or something of those contacts here. Next, we have our contact tags, where you can create new tags through here, edit existing tags. So if you click that create tag button, it's going to be the same thing we saw when we created that custom tag earlier on our contact. So I'm going to cancel this one. But you can see who they were created by, so yourself or the system, when they were created. I will note that any that are created by the system, you do not have the option to edit or delete. But any that you've created, you can just click that pencil and edit that tag through there. Next, you have lead management, and this is going to allow you to create rules for incoming leads. Maybe the lead comes from your website and you want to automatically set them up on a smart plan or automatically tag that lead. You can do that by creating rules here. Lead sources, again, any that are created by the system can't be edited or deleted, but you can go in and create some custom sources when you're marking them as leads. That way you can select where that lead came from. Database cleanup, if you are looking for duplicate contacts, so you can merge them, you're just going to click this check for duplicates. Will notify us when we're ready. We'll probably have to refresh, but we'll look at that in a second. We'll come back to that. Custom fields, you can go in and create custom fields. You can edit those fields and make them default or non-default through there. So you have those options. And then finally, we also have my logs, which we looked at a little bit earlier with our import logs. So we'll see imports right here. And you'll see all of the imports you've completed in your account. So you can see the status, when it was completed, the date it was started, the date it was completed, the number of contacts imported, number that failed, and the total contacts in that file. If you scroll over, you're going to see two links here. So the original file, if you want to download the file you uploaded in the first place, you can do that here. And then you can download that error file if you want to see the reason why the import failed, like we looked at a little bit ago. You'll also see your export logs, so you can see when they were completed, how many contacts were exported, and things like that. So we're going to go back over to our database cleanup, and we can see that we now have our duplicates up here. When you go in, it will tell you how it found them. Usually it's by name. Usually it doesn't allow you to enter the same phone number for contacts, so that's interesting. But you can see those duplicate contacts, and you can either ignore them or you can go in and you can merge contacts. So we can select these ones, we can merge it, and it's going to give us this pop-up here that has us select the primary contact to keep. If you have a contact already connected to an opportunity or to a smart plan or active on a smart plan, it's going to keep that one as the active contact and just merge the one that doesn't have the agent site connection, smart plan, or opportunity. So you can merge those there. So we'll just continue with that. And we can see that information through here and what is being merged, merge and delete the duplicate. And you can just go through all of those pairs right here and we can ignore them. So we can ignore both of those or merge them. We can go over to our merge history as well, and you'll be able to see when we've previously merged contacts. So it's showing the one from today, and you can view those merged details, and it'll be that same pop-up we got then. All right, that is really all we have for today. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this recording. If you have any questions, please go ahead and drop them in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and stick around to grab any questions that are already in the chat, and then we'll get those answered for you. If you're not sticking around for questions, thank you for joining me. I hope this was helpful, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week.